Genesis 31 and verse 1. Genesis 31 and verse 1. So it says, and he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob had taken away all that was ours, our fathers, and that which was our fathers had begotten all this glory. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as before. And the Lord said unto Jacob, Return unto the land of thy fathers, and to thy kindred, and I will be with you. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flock, and said unto them, I see that your father's countenance, that it is not towards me as before, but the God of my father hath been with me. Verse 6, and you know that with all my power I have served your father, and your father had deceived me and changed my wages 10 times, but God suffered him not to hurt me. Verse 8, if he said thus, the speckled shall be their wages, then all cattle grow speckled. And if he said thus, the ring straight shall be the hire, then all the cattle ring straight. Thus God had taken away the cattle of your father, and had given them to me. And it came to pass at that time that the cattle conceived, that I lifted up my eyes and saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which lived upon the cattle were ring straight, were speckled and busy. And the angel of God, he spoke unto me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, Here am I. And he said, Lift up now thy eyes, and see all the rams which live upon the cattle. They are ring straight, they are speckled and grizzled. For I have seen all that Laban has done to you. I am the God of Bethel, where thou anointest the pillar, and where thou vow a vow unto me. Now arise, get thee out from this land, and return unto the land of thy kindred. And Rachel and Leah, they answered and said unto him, Is there yet any portion of inheritance for us in our father's house? Are we not counted of him strangers? For he had sold us, and had quite devoured also our money. For all the riches which God had taken from our father, that is ours, and our children. Now then, whatsoever God has said unto you, do. Then Jacob rose up, he set his sons and his wives upon camels, and he carried away all his cattle and all his goods which he had gotten, the cattle of the getting which he had gotten in Padan Aram, for to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. Amen. So there's something to note here. Notice they were giving an account of their father. Moses will be giving an account of his father, or the father of his generation, which will be Jacob, Israel. And in giving that, he has to vindicate what his father did. Amen. So are you seeing how he wrote it intelligently to see that why did Jacob have to do what he did? Because of who? Because of Laban. He's also letting us see that in a dream, God was in the know, or God actually validated what he was doing. Amen. So in verse 19, and Laban went to share his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the images that were her father's. Let's take a pause. What would those images be from our study?
Gods.
Yes, very right. Idols, gods. Again, that should remind us of our study in Genesis chapter 1, when it says we're made in the image and the likeness of God. It means we are idols representing God in the earth. So in verse 19, it means that Rachel, she stole the idols of her father. Does that also show you that the generation at which Abraham was called out from, were they idol worshippers? Yes. Okay, maybe I'm too fast. So we spoke about the fact that Laban is the brother of who?
Rachel.
Of, huh? of Rebekah. And Rebekah would still be in that genealogy of Abraham. So when God called out Abraham, we said it was not just telling him, Abraham, go out of your house, just be going around, don't do anything. No. It was to call him out of idol worship, which is what his family were into. Amen. So again, they wanted us to see that fact that Rachel, although she believed in what God told her husband in the dream, she still had some affinity for the idols of her father. Amen. So, verse 20, Jacob stole away unawares to Laban the Syrian, and he told him not that he had fled. Verse 21, so he fled with all that he had, and he arose up and passed over the river, set his face toward the Mount Gilead. And it was told Laban on the third day that Jacob has fled. And he took his brethren with him and pursued after him 7 days' journey, and he overtook him in the Mount of Gilead. And God came to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night, and said unto him, take heed that you speak not to Jacob either good or bad. Then Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mount, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the Mount of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, what have you done, that you have stolen away unawares to me, taken away my daughters, I have taken captives taken with the sword? Wherefore did thou flee away secretly, and you stole from me, and you did not tell me, that I might have sent thee away with me, with songs, with tabret, and with harp? And hast not suffered me to kiss my sons and my daughters, thou hast now done foolishly in so doing. It is in the power of my hand to do you aught. Let's read together. But the God of your father spoke unto me yesternight, saying, take thou heed that thou speak not to Jacob, either good or bad. Verse 30, and now though thou wouldest needs be gone, because thou so longest after thy father's house, yet wherefore you have stolen my gods. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, because I was afraid, for I said, peradventure you will take by force thy daughters from me. With whomsoever thou find thy gods, let him not live. Before our brethren discern thou what is done with me, and take it to thee. For Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them. Amen. As we're going to see, we'll read through this. I remember in my years of Bible study and doing revelations, I used to say the reason Rachel died was because she took the idol. That revelation, when I was doing this study, I think I was telling Sister Gimi, I felt so ashamed of myself that how did I read that revelation into this passage? But let's continue. So he did not know Rachel has stolen those items, the idols. 33. And Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the two maidservants' tent, but he found them not. Then he went he out of Leah's tent, and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the images, had put them in the camel's furniture, and had sat upon them. And Laban searched all the tents, but found them not. Verse 35, and she said to her father, let it not displease my lord, that I cannot rise up before thee, for the custom of women is upon me. And he searched, but found not the images. Let's take a pause. Can you notice that it was more visible, or it was in a way kind of more visible to know the custom of women in those times than now? Hence, you will see why Moses gave the law. I just wanted to also point, we've spoken about this before, that we cannot apply that law where people say that's the reason they don't allow men to serve God, because of their biological makeup. And we said that the reason Moses gave that law is because it's kind of something they could see then. But in today's world, I think even married couples sometimes, you might not even know the time of such a thing anymore. So it's not a law that I should bring into our time to say women are unclean and all of that. No, there was a context at which those laws were given in the book of Leviticus. Amen. Is it clear? I just wanted us to point this out as we're reading together. Verse 36, and Jacob was wroth and told with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, what is my trespass? What is my sin that thou hast so hotly pursued after me? Whereas thou hast searched all my stuff, what hast thou found of all my stuff? Set it here before my brethren and thy brethren, that they may judge between us both. These 20 years have I been with thee, that their ewes and thy she-goats have not cast their young, and the rams of thy flock have I not eaten. That which was torn of beast I brought not unto thee. I bore the loss of it, of my hand did thou require it, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was in the day that the drought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep departed from my eyes. Thus I have been 20 years in thy house. I have served thee 14 years for thy 2 daughters, and 6 for thy cattle, and thou hast changed my wages how many times? 10 times. Except the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had been with me, surely thou would have sent me away now empty. God has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked thee yesternight. And Laban answered and said unto Jacob, these daughters are my daughters, and children are my children, and these cattle are my cattle. And all that thou seest is mine, and what can I do this day unto these my daughters, or unto their children which they have born? Verse 44, now therefore come down, let us make a covenant, I and thee, and let it be for a witness between me and thee. And Jacob took a stone, set it up for a pillar. And Jacob said unto his brethren, gather stones. And they took stones, and they made a heap, and they did eat there upon the heap. Was this the first time Jacob used stone to show something significant to him? No. So, would it be funny today if you want to worship God and then the thing that comes to your mind is to pick up stones and set it up and say just because Jacob did it in the Bible? Again, that is you bringing a culture that is not in our time. You're bringing it without understanding the culture of those days. That they saw a stone, and I mean, who will not see it? There was no cars, we had no electricity. Imagine a life without electricity, without phones, without mosquito repellents, without even a house. You just walk around. So a stone would be much of a place of treaty, a place that they love so much. Amen. So verse 47, and Laban called it Jegar-Shahar-Dutar, but Jacob called it Galeed. And Laban said, this heap is a witness between me and thee this day. Therefore was the name of it called Galeed. And Mizpah, for he said, the Lord will watch between me and thee, when we are absent one from another. If thou shalt afflict my daughters, or if thou shalt take other wives beside my daughters, no man is with us. See, God is witness between me and you. And Laban said to Jacob, behold this heap, and behold this pillar, which I have cast between me and thee. This heap will be a witness, this pillar will be a witness, that I will not pass over this heap to thee, and thou shalt not pass over this heap and this pillar unto me for harm. The God of Abraham, the God of Nahor, the God of their father, will judge between us. And Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered sacrifice upon the mount, and called his brethren to eat bread. And they did eat bread. They tarried all night in the mount. And early in the morning, Laban rose up, kissed his sons and his daughters, and blessed them. And Laban departed and returned unto his place. So again, we see sacrifice. We've said it many times, that sacrifice again would not be something God demands. Sacrifice was another method. These people, they used the culture of how they worship God, then they converted it, how they worship other gods. then they converted it in the worship of God. Amen. So, sacrifice would not be something that God is thirsty for. Amen. The same way, even the death of Jesus, somebody say, God does not kill anyone, but when he wants to save humanity, he had to kill his son. Does that statement even make sense to you? It doesn't. God does not kill anyone. God used the ultimate sacrifice that man will resonate with to save man. Amen. Is it clear? Okay, Genesis 32. So the whole essence of this is we want to understand God so that we don't have a skewed mindset. Atheists today would say, is how come God is looking at the evil? If God truly is God, how come Donald Trump won? Oh, sorry, I'm in Nebraska, please. I think he won here, so I'm not going to get myself in trouble. But if God is truly God, how come? Okay, no, that means God won in this instance. If God is God, how come Tinubu won in Nigeria? Stuff like that. And as much as God will just be smiling at you, as pertaining to things that are left in the hands of men. Amen. So, in Genesis 32, Jacob went on his way. Again, when we say Jacob, don't forget, Jacob is still the same personality as Israel. So, this is why from here, from Genesis 26 down to Genesis 50, it was mainly about Jacob, because they want to lay that foundation of how the children of Israel came to be. So we gave an overview of the Bible. The Bible should be seen as a book that will show us Israel, that will eventually take us from Israel through to Jesus, then from Jesus to the believers today. Amen. So you can see a lot of emphasis on the life of Jacob. In chapter 32 and verse 2, and when Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's host." And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother, unto the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, "Thus you shall speak unto my lord Esau, thy servant Jacob, and you say thus, I have sojourned with Laban, and I have stayed there until now. And I have oxen and asses, flocks and men servants and women servants, and I have sent to tell my lord that I may find grace in thy sight." And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, "We came to thy brother Esau, and also he cometh to meet thee, and 400 men with him." Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that was with him, the flocks and herds and camels, into 2 bands, and said, "If Esau come to the one company and smite it, then the other company which is left shall escape." And Jacob said, "O God of my father Abraham, God of my father Isaac, the Lord which said unto me, Return unto thy country and to thy kindred, and I will deal well with thee. I am not worthy of the least of the mercies, and of all the truth which you have showed unto your servant. For with my staff I passed over these Jordans, and now I become 2 bands. Deliver me, I pray thee, for the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he will come and smite me, and the mother with the children." Now, this is noteworthy, because this will be one of the first times we'll see a prayer directly to God, a prayer of salvation. And I want you to note this prayer very well, because this will be similar to how the children of Israel will pray their prayer of deliverance. Genesis 32 and verse 11. Now, again, notice the prayer will be from the hands of who? Of Esau. Esau will be that unbelieving audience. Amen. that unbelieving audience. Amen. So in verse 12, and he said, I will surely do thee good, and make thy seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered, for multitude. And he lodged there that same night, and took of that which came to his hand a present for Esau his brother, 200 she-goats, 200 he-goats, 200 ewes, 200 rams, 30 milk camels with their colts, 40 kine, and 10 bulls, 20 she-asses, and 10 foals. He delivered them into the hands of his servant, every drove by themselves, and said unto his servants, pass over before me, and put a space between the drove and drove. And he commanded the foremost, saying, when Esau my brother will meet you, and ask you, saying, whose art thou? And whither goest thou? And whose are these before thee? Then thou shalt say, they be thy servants Jacob's. It is a present sent unto my lord Esau. And behold, also he is behind us. And so he commanded he the second and third, and all that followed the drove, saying, on this manner you shall speak unto Esau when you find him. And say ye moreover, behold, thy servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goeth before me, and afterward I will see his face, peradventure he will accept of me. So went the present over before him, and himself lodged that night in the company. And he rose up that night, took his 2 wives and his 2 women servants, and his 11 sons, and passed over the ford Jabbok. And he took them, and sent them over the brook, and sent over that he had. And Jacob was left alone, and he wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the whole of his thigh, and the whole of Jacob's thigh was out of joint, as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except you bless me. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. Verse 28, let's read together. And he said, the name shall be no more called Jacob. For you have prayed. With God as prevailed. Amen. Verse 29, and Jacob asked him and said, tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, wherefore is it that thou dost ask after my name? And he blessed him then. And Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. And as he passed over Peniel, the sun rose up upon him, and he halted upon his thigh. Let's read verse 32 together. Therefore, the children of Israel eat not of the sinew which is upon the hollow of the thigh unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh in the sinew that shrank. Amen. So, many times a lot of theologians have issues with how did this passage come to be, especially from, they are not too sure of the man he met, whether obviously it was a supernatural man. But the reason why it was written was because the children of Israel, they had a culture of not eating the sinew on the thigh. Today we eat it, but they just had that culture, and it's because they felt that Jacob had a dislocation around that thigh. Amen. So that's the primary reason why we had this. Also because he also had an encounter with God. We can call that an encounter. Amen. So Jacob, again, don't forget the whole context. He's about to see his brother Esau. In chapter 33, it says, Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau came, and with him 400 men, and he divided the children unto Leah, and unto Rachel, and unto the 2 handsmen. And he put the handmaids and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after, Rachel and Joseph hindermost. He passed over before them, and bowed himself to the ground 7 times, until he came near to his brother. And Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him and wept. Lifted up his eyes and saw the women and the children and said, "Who are those with thee?" And he said, "The children which God had graciously given thy servant." Then the handmaidens came near, they and their children, and they bowed themselves. And Leah also with her children came near and bowed themselves. And after came Joseph near and Rachel, and they bowed themselves. And he said, "What meanest thou by all this drove which I met?" And he said, "These are to find grace in the sight of my Lord." And Esau said, "I have enough, my brother. Keep that thou hast unto thyself." And Jacob said, "No, I pray thee, if now I have found grace in your sight, then receive my present at my hand. For therefore I have seen your face, as though I had seen the face of God, and thou wast pleased with me." Can we say this is an answer to the prayer he prayed earlier? Verse 11. Take, I pray thee, my blessing that is brought to thee, because God hath dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough. And he urged him, and he took it. And he said, "Let us take our journey, and let us go, and I will go before thee." And he said unto him, "My Lord, knoweth that the children are tender, and the flocks and the herds with young are with me, and if men shall overdrive them one day, all the flock will die. Let my Lord, I pray thee, pass over before his servant, and I will lead on softly, according as the cattle that dwell before me, and the children be able to endure, until I come unto my Lord, unto Seir." And Esau said, "Let me now live with thee some of the folk that are with me." And he said, "What needed it? Let me find grace in the sight of my Lord." So Esau returned that day on his way unto Seir, and Jacob journeyed to Succoth, and built him an house, and made booths for his cattle there, before the name of the place is called Succoth. And Jacob came to Shalem, a city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Padan Aram, and pitched his tent before the city. He bought a parcel of the field where he had spread his tent at the hand of the children of Ammon, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. He erected there an altar and called it Israel. Amen. So we can see from this, there are two things to see. So why do you think Jacob, one of the things they wanted us to see was that Jacob tried to what? He tried to reconcile his relationship with his brother. So when the writer of Hebrews would say we should follow peace with all men, this would be a good context where we can teach it from. Amen. Smiling. I know that's a question. Yeah, so all of these stories are multidimensional because yes, we'll see the plan of God. We can also deduce some lessons from all of these stories. Now notice, did God fulfill the promise to him? No, he said that if he would go and get wives and come back to the land of his father, that he would give a tithe of it all. Abi? We are busy to eat bread. We spoke about this, I think it was 2 weeks ago, where we saw the inception of tithing. And this was, now he's back home, and that's why he will erect an altar in that land. Amen. So, all of these little details will let us see how Israel came to be and how many of their practices started, or how they traced the inception of some of the practices they had to the time of Jacob. Amen. So in chapter 34, we'll go into an interesting part of the story, because the question now will be, again, when you're reading the book of Genesis, do not get too engrossed in the stories. Rather, ask yourself, why is this story written? Now, the next story we're going to read was written because there will be a form of a curse, not a curse, or the blessing on Reuben. I think it's Levi Levi and Simon, or Simeon. I'm not sure I'm saying the right thing. No. That would be Genesis chapter 48. We place a blessing here. So Genesis 49, where he blessed all of his children, and Jacob blessed everyone. But he spoke about, Simeon and Levi in verse 5. And he will speak about their anger. So Moses again wanted us to see the inception of the anger. Amen. So that's why we now have from verse chapter 34 down to chapter 35. So my point is, in reading the book of Genesis and the book of the Bible, the books of the Bible, when you're reading, ensure that you can piece it together. So you're not just there saying, Dinah, you will now be reading it more like a storybook and leaving out some of the information you want us to see. So in chapter 34, verse 1, it says, And Dinah, the daughter of Leah, which she bore unto Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, again, he is a Hivite. Hivite to be from where? Generation of who? Canaan, exactly. Hivite, Hittite, Jebusite, the same generation. Again, don't forget, they are now in Canaan. He is back home. And the prince of the country, when he saw her, he took her and laid with her and defiled her. And his soul clave unto Dinah, the daughter of Jacob. He loved the damsel. He spoke kindly unto the damsel. So this is not a 2024 thing. It started way back. And Shechem spoke unto his father, Hamor, saying, Get me this damsel to wife. Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah, his daughter. Now his sons were with his cattle in the field. And Jacob held his peace until they were come. Now, this passage is one passage my mom used to use when she wants to discipline us. I will hold my peace until your father comes. So he said that Jacob, see, Oshi farabale, Odru de Ahomwe. So it's quite nostalgic for me, And when you hear the horn from a distance, you say, Lord, can this call pass me over? How many of us did quiet time growing up? Okay, you did quiet time. You used to write it too. Okay. Because I remember then, if my dad is not just, if something, maybe salary did not come when it should come, just something, we're now getting older, so let's come to our own world. Maybe research is not going well, or something's not happening. And that evening is not just happening. And he just wants to just dish out some form of discipline. He'll say, hello, quiet time. He knows we have not been doing it. So it's that evening we will start writing. And he will not tell you that bring your quiet time from me this year. How do you expect me to? Amen. So all of this is just nostalgic for me. You will receive a lot of beatings. Then at the end, you say, now tell me that you love me. It's kind of... Amen. Okay. So Jacob held his peace until they were come. Verse 6, And Hamor, the father of Shechem, went up unto Jacob to commune with him. And the sons of Jacob came out of the field when they heard it. And the men were grieved, and they were very wroth, because he had wrought fully Israel, in line with Jacob's daughter, which thing ought not to be done. And Hamor communed with them, saying, The soul of my son Shechem longeth for your daughter. I pray you give her him to wife, and make you marriages with us, and give your daughter unto us, and take our daughters unto you. You can see the premise of this. If they should do this, then Esau and them are now the same. So obviously this would really annoy them a lot because of the training or because of the things they've learned. Amen. Let me put this in our time today. The ideology that you can marry to change someone is an unfound ideology. One of the trainings I'm grateful to God I hearkened to growing up, a very controversial you can think, but never think you can use marriage to change people to Christ. It's clear in scriptures. Do not marry. Amen. See, let's hit the thing on the head. It will be very hard for you to change an unbeliever in a marriage institution. Now, there are intricate part of it. Before you knew the Lord, you might have been married before, then that's fine. You can't. Jesus will not tell you, or Christianity does not tell you to divorce her. First Peter will say, if you can win he or she over by your good works, please do. But as a single brother or sister, you have such an instruction not to marry people in the world. Amen. The daughters of the Hittites, quote unquote. It doesn't mean that you should not marry from Canaan. No, it just means there must be people. There should be people that share the same value system or the same understanding of God as you do. Very clear. Amen. I think maybe I will spark some questions later, but we'll talk about it. So verse 12, it says, ask me never so much dowry and gift, and I will give according as you shall say unto me, but give me the damsel to wife. Again, inception of dowry, gifts, all of this, is it by God or a traditional thing? It's a traditional thing, very traditional. In short, the inception of marriage, the institution of marriage, it's actually again a traditional thing. God now has looked into that institution and has given us how he wants his own children to operate in that institution. Amen. So maybe when we treat marriage next year, we'll talk more about some of those very touchy topics. Verse 13. And the sons of Jacob, they answered Shechem and Ham his father deceitfully and said, because he had defied Dinah, their sister. And they said unto him, we cannot do this thing, to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised, for that will be a reproach unto us. But in this we will consent unto you, if you be as we be, like every male of you be circumcised, then we will give our daughters unto you, and will take your daughters to us, and will dwell with you, and will become one people. But if you not hearken unto us to be circumcised, then we'll take our daughters, and will be gone. And their words pleased Hamor, and Shechem, Hamor's son. And the young man deferred not to do the thing. The young man deferred not to do the thing because he had delight in Jacob's daughter, and he was more honorable than all the house of his father. And Hamor and Shechem his son came out to the gate of their city, and communed with the men of their city, saying, these men are peaceable with us. Therefore, let them dwell in the land, and trade therein for the land. Behold, it is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters to us for wives, and let us give them our daughters. Only herein will the men consent to us, for to dwell with us, to be one people. If every male among us be circumcised as they are circumcised, shall not their cattle and their substance and every beast of theirs be ours? Only let us consent unto them, and they will dwell with us. And unto Hamor and unto Shechem his son hearkened all that went out of the gate of the city. And every male was circumcised, and all that went out of the gate of his city. And it came to pass on the third day, when they saw that two of the sons of Jacob, who? Simon and Levi, Dinah's brethren, they took each man his sword, and came upon the city boldly, and slew all the males. And they slew Hamor and Shechem his son with the edge of the sword. And they took Dinah out of Shechem's house, and went out. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain, and spoiled the city, because they had defiled their sister. They took their sheep, their oxen, their asses, and that which was in the city, and that which was in the field, and all their wealth. and all their little ones and their wives took they captive. They spoiled even all that was in the house. And Jacob said to Simon and Levi, you have troubled me to make me to stink among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites, the Perizzites, and I, being few in number. They shall gather themselves together against me and slay me, and I shall be destroyed, I and my house. Let's read verse 31 together. And he said, should he deal with our sister as with a harlot? Amen. So we'll stop here this evening. I just want us to see, again, this will be the inception of a major rivalry amongst these people, especially with the nation of Canaan.